over the appropriate period of time.
Thank you very much. These two questions are with Andrew Feinberg and J.C. Buell. One is, today you said you're sending federal law enforcement officers to run cities run by extreme politicians, that's the word you used, who happen to be all Democrats, who supported Black Lives Matter protests. Millions of Americans voted supported.
No, I said Democrat politicians, and these are the cities where you have the problem. If you look at Chicago, if you look at Detroit, look around any of these cities where we have the problems, and we're sending them help. But we're really waiting for them to call for the big help, for the big numbers, for the large numbers of people that we have ready, willing, and able. You look at Chicago, where 14 people were shot yesterday, where over the weekend many people died and many people were shot, and over the last month they're setting record numbers. We are waiting for the mayor, respectfully, and other mayors and governors to call us. We are ready, willing, and able to go in there with great force. Now, we also have people that are going in and arresting drug dealers, arresting some of the shooters that are doing the shooting. We know who they are. We're working with police forces, and even though in some cases they're told don't work with the federal government, the police forces have great respect for the federal government, what we do. But we're ready, willing, and able to go into these cities that are just being decimated with shooting, and we're
questioning one person of interest. Tonight's shooting comes on the heels of the Department of Homeland Security's decision to send federal agents to Chicago to deal with an uptick in violence.
And we're learning more tonight about the man accused in the murder of a federal judge's son in New Jersey. Investigators say Roy Den Hollander posed as a FedEx driver to carry out the Sunday attack on U.S. District Judge Esther Salas's home. They believe he may have been looking to take out some of his enemies after being diagnosed with terminal cancer this year. Judge Salas was unharmed, but her husband was seriously wounded, and her 20-year-old son was killed. I heard.
Apartment complex, and one victim made it to the intersection where he died. We have a crew working this story, and we'll update you more when we learn more.
Coweta County investigators are working to determine how a car fell 100 feet down into a retention pond from a movie theater parking lot. It happened last Friday night outside of the NCD Theater just west of Peachtree City. According to authorities, the car drove right through the parking lot, crashed through the retention pond fence at a high rate of speed, fell down the 100-foot embankment, and came to rest in the water. Rescuers tell Fox 5 they trained for a wide range of dangerous scenarios, but this was one of the most challenging.
We're dealing with the water, auto extrication, rope rescue, and dealing with the heat on top of it.
The 40-year-old male driver and his 38-year-old female passenger were airlifted to Atlanta Medical Center, where they both died.
Police funding. Yes, absolutely. Eliminating cash bail. Letting criminals back on the street. Violent crime exploding. Innocent children fatally shot. Who will be there to answer the call when your children aren't safe?
Youngsters going wrong, you got to nip it in the bud.
I'm going to have a talk with them. Now, what more you want me to do?
Well, just tell Monica.
I won't.
Nip it. You go read any book you want on the subject of child discipline, and you'll find that every one of them is in favor of butt nipping.
Take care of it.
Only one way to take care of it.
Nip it.
In the bud.
Right. Now.
A former homicide detective and law enforcement expert tells me this is indicative of crime just being out of control right now. Violent incidents in Atlanta are happening so frequently you can become numb when you hear about the next one, or even more fearful if you live or have to come inside the city limits.
In the city of Atlanta, currently is the worst that I've seen in my career. And anytime the homicide rate is high, the aggravated assault rate is almost triple that. And aggravated assault, when someone gets shot, is a homicide. It didn't happen.
Retired Detective Vince Velasquez spent most of his APD career, 17 years of it, on the homicide squad. He gave us his take on the violent spike we're seeing now. It continued over the weekend with another iPod.
Is enough. Fox 5's Emily Ketta is at that
apartment at the Northwest
West Atlanta intersection of Cameron Alexander Boulevard and Sunset Avenue.
Our decedent that's on the scene was in an argument with a female that lives in the area, and another male came up and got into an altercation with him about that altercation and ultimately shot him to death.
Detectives on the scene couldn't ID the victim, but heard from people living in the neighborhood that he worked at an auto repair body shop at the intersection where the shooting took place.
Possibly works there, but I didn't. We can't say ownership because we don't even know who he is at this point. But people are telling us that he did work at this location.
Investigators think the dispute with the woman was ongoing.
A couple of witnesses came forward and stated that they heard them arguing quite a bit all week, but not specifically telling us what the arguments were about.
Witnesses told police they heard 2 to 3 shots, but investigators were having trouble finding shell casings even after bringing in a dog to help with the search. Now they're trying to track down the gunman and the woman who was arguing with the victim.
We're actually going to secure a search warrant to actually search one of the apartments that's nearby to see if we can locate some identities of either one of them.
Hamsters in a tight cage chase each other. The illegal stunt car driving looked a bit like that over the weekend.
The whole Peachtree Street and Spring Street locked down.
The smoke from the burned rubber, the fireworks pleased a large crowd as midnight approached Saturday evening in Midtown.
People out here, they've got chairs. They sit down with chairs.
They are getting bolder, revving it up a notch.
You got to nip it in the bud.
I'm going to have a talk with them. Now, what more you want me to do?
Well, just don't mollycoddle.
I won't.
Nip it. You go read any book you want on the subject of child discipline, and you'll find that every one of them is in favor of butt nipping.
Take care of it.
Only one way to take care of it.
Nip it.
In the bud.